Hello, welcome back. This is my Spider Man Across the Spider Verse spoiler review. Um, I recommend you watch the first one first, kind of get an idea of what I think of the film, and also major spoilers ahead for the entirety of this film. So, up first, Miles. So, I think the I think Miles is really good in this film. I love Miles as a character. I liked him a lot in the 2018 movie, and I like him here. Um, I like his relationship with his parents, how he's trying to figure that out with being Spider Man and balancing a relationship with his parents. I I really like his relationship with his mom and his dad. Um, but more so his mom. The only thing is, I think his reason for not telling them, I think at one point he says, because he doesn't want them to view him differently or love him less. I just don't like that specific aspect of his motivation for not telling his parents. All the rest of it I'm on board with. It makes sense. It's Spider-Man, you know, but I think that I really like his choice at the end to tell his mom. Granted, it's the alternate universe, so it's not quite telling his mom, but he goes through the progression enough in the film and a small enough character arc to come to that choice. Now, Gwen is a lot more prominent in this film, and her relationship with Miles is fleshed out a lot more. And I really like the relationship that they're building between Miles and Gwen. Gwen was honestly my second favorite character in the 2018 film next to Miles. I really like her in this film, and I'll talk about her more in a second. But I really like the connection that she has with Miles and really the friendship that they have, and maybe relationship that's still up in the air. Now, one of the two biggest criticisms for me from this film, and this one is less so a criticism, more so a potential worry, is when it comes to the canon, the Spider Verse canon of Miles's father needing to die. Well, I want Miles's father, I forget his name, I want him to live because I think that if Miles conforms to the Spider Verse canon and lets his dad die, then that somewhat takes agency away from Miles. It puts him on this predetermined path, and he'll just exist in this shadow overcast of what Spider-Man should be. I really want Miles to break that. I want him to save his dad. I don't know if that's going to happen, if what the repercussions of that will be, how they'll solve that problem, but I don't want Miles to be like other Spider-Man. I want him to have this individuality, this unpredictability with his character. Um, and so, like I said, less so of a criticism, more so of a potential worry with how this plot line with his dad is going to play out. I just don't want this to ruin what we have and what we've established in these two movies that has made me love Miles Morales so much. I just don't want him to be another Spider-Man, if that makes sense. I don't want him to be in the shadow and follow the canon. But we don't know how that ends. That's we gotta wait for the third movie. So Gwen. I really like Gwen in this film. She has way more screen time than in the first one and way more plot focus. Like we actually just focus on her for a good portion of this film. The whole start of the film actually, which I greatly enjoyed. I really like her character. And I gotta say, I really love her relationship with her father. The way that was starting out in the film, I thought it was really interesting. And then when her dad was actually wanting to arrest her, I'm like, dude, this is nuts. Because it's a really hard choice the father has to make. Arresting someone who he thinks is a murderer, but at the same time, that's also his daughter, his child, and she, accepts going to Spider Society and turning her back on him. That was an insane start to the film that I loved. And then later on in the film, she goes back, or she's forcibly sent back, but she actually talks things out with her father. That whole scene, her whole speech to her father, I absolutely loved that stuff. That was fantastic. And I'll call back to this in a second as far as where I think the film should have ended. I really like Gwen's character arc that she goes on in this film. And also her choice with Miles, not to tell him, but also to go see him. It's part of that ever growing relationship between the two of them that I really like. And, I'm sure it's hard for Gwen. She knows that he's an anomaly, but he's also like her only friend. And less so than Peter, I think that her choice not to tell him made more sense. And I think that she does a better job with turning sides to side with Miles. Now, the antagonist, or the first antagonist of this film, Spot. This guy's backstory. I cannot stress to you how much I was losing it in the movie theater. I tried to keep myself as contained as possible because, I gotta be civil in society. But the bagel guy, I love it. I love it. One of my favorite things, comedic wise, probably my favorite comedic moment in the 2018 film was when Miles throws a bagel at the scientist and bagel appears above the guy's head. It's hilarious. And then he reveals that this guy, Spot, the antagonist of the film, is the guy who got the bagel thrown at his head. This is, it's comical, and but it's great. I love it. I genuinely love it. And then the ramifications for that, how his life goes downhill, and it's all Miles's fault, is insane. How they connected the dots with that. But then furthermore, when he's trying to explain all this to Miles, Miles is texting his dad. He's ignoring him. He's making fun of him, calling him a villain of the week. And that's what I like about the antagonist Spot here, is he could have not done all this crazy multiverse stuff if Miles had just paid more attention to him, had a little more compassion, and been a little nicer with them. And I really like that Miles is the reason for his creation, but also there was that very small step in which Miles could have prevented everything, but then he didn't. And Miles is the direct reason why we are at where we are now. It's one of those things that I really like about this film. But okay, so his powers. I really like his powers. It's like the portal gun from the Portal series. I haven't played too much of it, but I do know how it works. He's trying to steal the ATM, uh, and I love scenes where Miles throws a punch at him, and then he has a portal on his face, and Miles punches himself in the face. That's hilarious. This guy's abilities are so creative, and then when he kicks his own ass, and he's stuck in his own little dimension. Then he goes to other dimensions. He sees Miss Chen from Venom, which I loved because I really like the Venom series, even though it's not the best. He goes to the Lego world. We see Lego Spider-Man. It's genuinely incredible. And then he goes to Alchemax to create this new particle accelerator and amplifies his powers even more, which I love. I love his new design. The whole sketch work around it is crazy. And as for the future of this character, I've never heard of this guy. I don't know if he's original to this movie. He's probably not. I highly doubt that he is, actually. But I am really excited to see more of him moving forward and how Miles solves the situation with him. He's genuinely one of my favorite parts of this film, and I really am so excited to see the future of his character. Now, Miguel. Like I said in the video I just made, Miguel, we've been waiting for this guy since 2018, and boy, does he live up to expectations. He gets work done. Um, but his past is very interesting, and I also have to call it into question. The past that he presents us is very compelling, actually, and it gets me very on board with his character and his motivations. And he's going against Miles only because he has directly been the cause for an entire universe's death. And it's really hard to pick between, his side, the canon, or Miles, because if Miles saves his father, theoretically he's destroying his entire universe. Um, but I I really do like Miguel. I like him design wise, I like his motivations, his past. The only thing is he is the one telling us his past, and to my knowledge, he's the only one that knows his past. So we have to call into question if he's telling the truth. Of course, Gwen mentioned part vampire, and he injected himself with something in the film, so he's clearly not a normal Spider-Man. Uh, I don't know hardly anything surrounding Miguel O'Hara or 2099 Spider-Man, so that's why a lot of this stuff is mystery to me, and why so much of this was insane to see for the first time in this film. Now, as an antagonist, like I kind of said, I'm on board with him. He's an antagonist, not a villain. Um, but I really like his action scene on the train with Miles. The whole chase scene was great, and I'll talk about that in a second. But his scene on the train with Miles when he's slamming him into the train, telling him, I forgot what he said specifically, but he's talking down to him really bad, like you could feel it. I really like that, and I really like his character, and I am so excited to see more of Miguel O'Hara in the third movie. Now, Peter. Peter Parker, my man in the first film. I love him in the first film. In my opinion, he felt underused in this film to a very high degree. Now, granted, this film has a lot of focus on Miles and Gwen, and the first film was more so Miles and Peter with a bit of Gwen here and there. I just feel like he's treated so like he's incompetent. He's babysitting his daughter. His daughter's adorable, but he just this is Peter Parker. He doesn't feel necessarily like Spider-Man. I feel like they're underutilizing him, maybe even downgrading him a little bit. I wanted to see more from Peter in this film. I like his character arc. He met back up with Mary Jane. He had a daughter. He's raising a daughter to be like Miles. I really like that aspect of his character. I just really hope that the exposure he didn't get in this film can be made up for in the third. And I also just feel like he should have sided with Miles more. I mean, Peter Parker is sort of supposed to be like the most pure-hearted of guys. It's not pick the lesser of two evils. It's find an option that doesn't involve any evil. And he's so quick to just be like, "Ah, man, Miguel, you're going too hard on him," but not stopping Miguel. He knows that Miles's father is gonna die, and he just kind of accepts it. And he even tries to tell Miles, this is the way it's gotta be because of the canon. I just feel like Peter should have sided with Miles just a little more. And I just don't 100% like his representation in this film. Now to talk about a little bit of plot events. The opening sequence with Vulture. I really like this. This was surprising. So, this is a Vulture from the Renaissance era, and he's in this Da Vinci type sketchbook art style with all the notes around him. It looks phenomenal. this, and then the whole start with the movie, with Gwen fighting him, and then Miguel going against him. I I cannot stress enough how much I really liked the opening of this film. Now, Spider Society features a lot of new characters. Um, I forget a lot of their names, to be fully honest with you. But the lady on the motorcycle, who is Gwen's sort of mentor, she doesn't do a whole lot in this film. She kind of feels like the definition of underutilized. I'm not really sure why she's there. And I just don't really like her character. She feels like a very unnecessary addition to the cast. I think that Miguel could have quite easily just filled her role and given us a little bit more screen time with Miguel before we actually meet him. But the whole Spider Society, this stuff looks great. I love it visually. There's so many different cameos. I couldn't begin to name them all. Spectacular Spider-Man though, from the animated series, which I grew up with. Really exciting. PS4 Spider-Man. I don't have a PlayStation, but I did really like the storyline of that game. Oh, I almost forgot about this. Aaron from Homecoming, Spider-Man Homecoming with Tom Holland. There is a small cameo with Aaron, um, and Tom webs him to his car, and yeah, but that guy, the actor, I forget his name, and I do apologize, is in this film, and he is Prowler. So the Marvel Cinematic Universe, Uncle Aaron, did become Prowler, which is it's just crazy, and it really makes me excited. I really hope we get something with an MCU Spider-Man, Miles Morales in the future. Then again, maybe not because I'm really not on board with what Marvel's been doing lately, and I think Phase 4 was a massive disappointment. But overall, the chase scene with all the Spider-Man and Miles was fantastic. There's so much going on. T-Rex Spider-Man, that's crazy. Cowboy Spider-Man, it's all really exciting stuff. And the whole chase scene was fantastic. You know, they go out the building, they're on this kind of like flying car freeway, then they make it to this train that's going to space. It's really insane, and it's a fantastic sequence, the whole thing from start to finish. Now, Miles goes back, and this is what I liked that they established was it scans the DNA of that universe. So what this machine did, I think it was called the Go Back machine. They had a very simple name for it. It scans his DNA, but it's the DNA of the spider from Earth 42 because that spider was transported to Miles's universe. I forget the number, by Spot. So Miles goes back to that alternate universe that doesn't have a Spider-Man. Now, I didn't pick up on this, and I actually didn't even realize the plot twist until Gwen went into Miles's room. So Miles is sent to Earth 42. And for me, this is where the film picks up to a massive degree. I am so excited to see more of Earth 42. Um, it's genuinely crazy. An Earth without Spider-Man, and then Uncle Aaron's alive, and it's Miles's father that dies. That was a crazy twist. And then even more above all that is the Prowler is Miles. I am so excited to see Miles versus Miles in the third movie. To get any more of this alternate version of Miles is going to be exciting. Aesthetically, I love his character. Even though there really is not a whole lot with him plot wise, I'll be fully honest. He's just kind of there. You can't say that he's well written or not well written. He has like two lines. But I think that it's very interesting. Now, this is where I want to talk about my biggest criticism of this film. It's not inherently that the film has a cliffhanger, that it's a two-parter. Yes, they absolutely should have made it more apparent in the trailers or even in the title that this is a part one. It's where it ended. It ended with Earth 42 Miles pressing his fist against the punching bag that Miles is tied to. And Gwen is acquiring the new team, and that's where it ends. I think where this film should have ended is with Miles going to Earth 42, and that wraps up Miles. Okay? And Gwen goes back to her universe, and we get the scene where then Miguel and the other two Spider-Men go. I don't remember which universe they go to. I think they go to Miles's original universe, or maybe it's Earth 42. I genuinely don't remember. But when I saw Miguel walk through the portal and stand there on the rooftop, I thought, okay, this, it's been a long film. This wouldn't be that bad of a place to end. We end with Miguel showing up here too. But then the plot continues, and I thought, okay, so we're going to wrap it up? But then we don't. We actually do get a cliffhanger ending. And I would rather the film have ended where I actually thought it was going to throw a cliffhanger ending in. But like, at the same time, as far as the Gwen stuff, I think that if we hadn't ended with Miguel, well, I think we should have ended with there. But more specifically, I think what we should have done is included Gwen, because of her major focus in this film, included Gwen's conversation with her father. And then she gets the watch from Obi, and she goes through the dimension to go save Miles. I think that the film should have ended on that climactic moment with Gwen's character arc with her father and her leaving to go help Miles. I think that would have been better than introducing all of this Earth 42 stuff. Because ultimately, what happens here is the build up to the reveal, the build up to where we are now, that 5-10 minute segment. Oh my goodness, it's masterfully done. I genuinely love it. But the issue is we lost all of that traction. All of the traction of Miles going through the city, thinking about his father. All of that traction of everyone moving around in different pieces, different places, setting up different pieces of the plot. And then the reveal of Miles being the Prowler, Uncle Aaron's alive in this universe. We lose all of that momentum, unfortunately, because by the time we all wait to go see the third film, it's lost. And even next year, like 2 years from now, when we got the Blu-ray that has all three movies, the film ends. You lose that traction. Then you got to take out the DVD, put in the next one, and then start the third film with whatever occurs in there. Even that segment, watching it at home, you're still going to lose a lot of that traction that you've built up there. And I think that it's really unfortunate. I don't think that the cliffhanger ending inherently in itself is bad. I just think that they should have ended the movie, 5 minutes, 10 minutes sooner than they did. And it would have served the plot a lot better. Now, overall, I like this film. I love the Spider-Verse universe. I just, especially the two biggest things, my biggest criticism is where it ended. I think it should have ended, 10 minutes sooner? And my biggest potential criticism is how they're going to handle Miles. I really, really don't want Miles to be stuck in the canon. But Gwen's character arc through this film, I like it. Miles' mini character arc, I like it. I just think that a better climax of this film would have been resolving Gwen's situation and sort of cutting it there. Because since we didn't do that, we kind of don't have a climax now. I mean, we do, obviously, technically, but there is no climactic scene to point to other than the reveal that Miles is the Prowler. And furthermore, with this, I just feel like this film does a lot of good. It has a lot of good. I I do genuinely love it. But there's just a few things that I'm worried about in the next film. However, when it comes to the next film, I can't deny that I'm excited. It's got to be now the most anticipated film I'm waiting for, right next to the second Joker movie with Joaquin Phoenix. I'm really excited to see the third film and to see how they wrap it up and to see all of these characters again. I really can't stress enough that they should have marketed it as a part one. They should have ended it where I just said. But I'm not going to deny the fact that I loved it. The kid in me, I loved it. It's Spider-Man. It's a genuinely incredible film. In the Spider-Man timeline, I think, see, because I liked No Way Home a lot, especially with Andrew and Toby. I grew up with Andrew, and I love those two movies, despite what everyone else says. But even that film, from a purely narrative plot standpoint, was kind of lacking. I think what they've done here is they've set up this Spider Verse trilogy to be the best Spider Man it has been. Now, I'm not saying No Way Home was bad. I just think that No Way Home could have used a little more in the story department, but the cameos are incredible. And of course, seeing the three Spider Man together was incredible. I love that. It's just very hard to differentiate this film between me, who enjoys things, the kid in me, who has a blast reading manga and watching movies, but also looking at it from a critical lens. It's a very incomplete film, which is highly unfortunate. But overall, I think they can stick the landing with a third one. Will it be the best potential this film could have ever reached? No, not necessarily, unfortunately. But I think that I think that it will all end out really well. I think that by the end of it, by next March, it's going to be a great story to view from start to finish once we have it all. Just unfortunately, with what we have now, it really does feel kind of incomplete. Um, and I'm sorry to say that, but it just is. I think that it probably would just be better if we had a part one and part two. Because even with Infinity War had the Wakanda battle, had the snap, had all of that climactic stuff, the battle on Titan, I do believe that's the name of it. So even though Infinity War and Endgame were a two-parter, Infinity War is on its own as standalone a very much a complete film, a very much enjoyable complete film. And it just really does suck that this film is incomplete. It's not that it's not enjoyable, it is. I love it. And I would say I'd give this film probably a 9, to be fully honest with you. But I can't because I can't rate the film. I don't know what happens next. So to be fully honest, I'm just not gonna rate this film. And personally, I liked it, but I can't give it a rating or justify a rating because I don't know what happens. None of us do. Um, and, maybe when the third one comes out, I'm obviously gonna review it, but I'll give my full thoughts on the story, the complete story at that point. But even then, it just the cliffhanger ending really is just kind of a large nitpick. Uh, that is unfortunately going to follow this film for the rest of its existence. I don't think it was the smartest move on Sony's part, though I do completely understand it. And stretching out a film, a story that's going to be likely 4 hours, 3.5 hours in total, I love that. A much more plot dense, rich story. I love that. Just the issue is the timing in which it was handled. That's going to be all from me today. Bye, guys.